You're watching News at Prime. Let's get into this discussion now. After the bombshell allegations by the KZN Police Commissioner General Madlanga in July, the President launched the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Now, after a few glitches, the Commission is about to start its work in the coming week. Let's talk more about this political killings and indeed the Madlanga inquiry, which will be looking into allegations of interference in the work of the South African Police Service. Joining us is the Commission's spokesperson, Jeremy Michaels, and we're also joined by Vahlengwe Forensics. Vahlengwe, let me put it that way. Vahlengwe Forensics founder, and that's Dr Christopher Mabasa. And we're also joined by the former Western Cape Detectives Head, Major General Jeremy Vearey. To all of you, gentlemen, thank you very much for making time for this important discussion. Let me start with you, Mr. Michaels, because the Commission is set to begin on Wednesday. Is it all systems go, or might we see yet more glitches?
Good evening, Xoli, and to the listeners. Absolutely, we are raring to go on Wednesday. It's been a few weeks of intense preparation. The evidence leaders, the investigators have been working hard behind the scenes to ensure that they advance the investigation and the legal preparation. At the same time, the Secretariat has been ensuring that all the logistics are in place with the support of the Department of Justice and Correctional and Constitutional Development, as well as the Department of Public Works. And so, indeed, there were a few glitches, and there are still a few loose ends, but we are set to go on Wednesday. Fantastic.
Let's come to you, Dr. Mabasa. You and Major General Vearey are people who have worked in the South African Police Service before. Am I correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
Absolutely. I don't want to be corrected on air, but I think we did this background check.
You are quite correct.
Let me ask you this simple question. Do you believe that South Africa's law enforcement agencies, including bodies, they have, at least some of them, been infiltrated by organized crime syndicates?
Yes, I believe. Because if you can see what is going on outside, and then also the commission which has been implemented by the president, and then also what transpired to those who were at least talking about them, Matlala and the others, and then all the police, those who you found that they took the docket and all those kind of the story, I believe.
All right. Let me take the same question to Major General Vearey. Major General, same question to you, but some people may suggest that these claims are outlandish. Do you believe, indeed, that South African law enforcement agencies have been infiltrated over time?
Yes, in terms of the students, there's institutions listed to be looked at, especially the SAPS, the SSA, and all those in correctional services. There has been a degree of infiltration, and in some cases, with past cases I'm aware of that were investigated and went to court, some instances of undue influence exercised. However, for the Commission, a very important thing needs to be determined is the extent of that. Now, that is a very wide net. And the amount of institutions that we are looking at sort of points to the fact that the Commission might be around for a lot longer than the period the Gazette reflects.
That's very interesting, talking about the scope of just how, or perhaps he says the extent of infiltration is perhaps what we are going to learn in this commission. And so, Mr. Michaels, it then brings about the question of just how wide the scope of the terms of reference is, and would you want to weigh in on what Major General Vearey says or alludes to, and that is whether or not this commission is going to be here for a lot longer than envisaged?
Indeed, Xoli, I think as Major General Vearey intimates, the scope is quite wide, and therefore the 3 months which the President gave us to submit an interim report and the 6 months for a final report is indeed very tight. Yeah. And when you take into account the fact that there has been a few weeks of delay, that is obviously also going to weigh quite heavily in the consideration as to whether an extension is granted. That is a matter with which Justice Madlanga, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Mamoloko Kubai, yeah, and President Ramaphosa will be engaging and are engaging. Having said that, I think it's also critical to take into account the fact that the terms of reference are quite wide. Firstly, it covers the South African Police Service, and that includes the Political Killings Task Team, yeah, and Crime Intelligence, as well as the State Security Agency, the National Prosecuting Authority, the Department of Correctional Services, the 3 Gauteng Metro Police Departments. Members of the executive are within the scope of the terms of reference. And so when you take all of that into account, yeah, indeed, it is quite wide. And of course, these, the scope arises from the allegations made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi on the 6th of July.
That's a very interesting one, because in all probability then, this commission might be here for a lot longer. We're going to come back because the terms of reference are quite wide, as you state, and there is a particular section that I would like to talk to more, but we're going to drill deeper as we go along. Dr. Mabasa, let's come to you. You are more interested, let's say, in the forensics, yes, part, yes, of things.
Yes.
The extent of this infiltration, as Major General Vearey puts it, how wide and deep does it go as it relates to your area of interest? Do you believe that some things ought to be uncovered there as well?
Yes, Xoli. According to my analysis, there is a lot. And then I want to support also Jeremy here that the time frame is too little. They should supposed to be given maybe 8 months. Because remember here, we talk about correctional service, intelligence, the police, and then also the witnesses, and then also the whistleblowers, you understand? Yes. And then some are here in South Africa, some will be found that are out of the country. And then remember, the same inquiry, if I can count, you will be found that the statement in terms of the forensics, it will be found that there are more than 10,000 statements. And then those people really, I believe now they work day and night, if I'm not wrong. If I'm not wrong. So with regard to my analysis, definitely the time frame is too little. And then also when I look there, the commission, they are just wanted to get the uncover what General Mkhwanazi said. Yeah. But because there is an allegation to the South African Police Service, those who will be maybe be recommended to go and do what and conduct the investigation. So, according to me, because police, correctional service, and then the Metro Police, the allegation is that they are involved. Yes. Those who should supposed to conduct the forensic investigation, if I was the president, if I was in the shoes of the president, I will at least try to get another, maybe former investigators, either from the South African Police Service and intelligence, to conduct a forensic investigation. Because here, remember, there are some whistleblowers, those who need to be protected. And then also the whistleblowers, and then also the witnesses. Remember, if after the finalization and recommendation of the inquiries, who's going to investigate, who's going to arrest? The same people, those whom we said that they are infiltrated by the criminal. So to me, as the forensic investigator, if we want to see to it that South Africa will be free from crime, let the president appoint again the former general, like General Vearey here, and then also the general. Investigate, because I cannot be Jabo Pule to be a referee and then soccer star. So now, because General Mkwanazi alleged that the police are involved, correctional service are involved, NPA are involved, how on the earth could we go to the same people and then investigate the recommendations for themselves?
That's a very interesting observation that you make, because this is going to form part of this very discussion. I want us to take a break, but before we do that, Jeremy Vearey, I want for you to start thinking about where things are at the moment. There are some new developments around certain names that were mentioned by General Mkwanazi, and there are movements now against those people. And I'd like for you to just get your thoughts around that as to whether this is going to complicate the work of the inquiry or this is part and parcel of assisting this very process. Let's take a break. When we return, we'll pick up on some of what has been said a little earlier. You're watching News at Prime. If you're just joining us, we're in the middle of a panel discussion on the upcoming Commission of Inquiry that's looking into the possible capture of South Africa's law enforcement agencies, including bodies. And my guests are still with me. Let me go now to Major General Vearey. And earlier I indicated that there are some developments before even this inquiry gets underway. Today, there is reporting that the deputy to General Masemola, we're talking about Shadrack Sibiya, he is now officially on suspension. In fact, that was confirmed a while back at the conclusion of his court case where he lost in court trying to get back to work. Do you believe that this might have implications for the commission, or it's part and parcel of what is going to assist the commission in coming to certain conclusions?
Let me start with what happened first. Firstly, the National Commissioner is within his rights to take disciplinary steps against any police officer, the senior officer in this particular case, when the disciplinary regulations have been violated. So what would be important to look at is what was the accusation or the reason given for the suspension that might give us a suggestion of the charge in particular. If it, for example, I'm saying for argument's sake, speaks to bringing the service into disrepute, for example, I mean, I don't see how that would be a contradiction with what the Commission is focusing on.
Yeah.
Because that is a totally different. So firstly, it was correct in the way the National Commissioner, he certainly would have faced labor from within the police, a labor dispute or challenge for not acting expeditiously as the disciplinary process prescribed within a fixed time period. So that is firstly one that needs to be out. He could be defaulted for that purpose according to our very regulations if he fails to act. So that's one. But in a disciplinary process, witnesses are also called by both parties.
Yeah.
Now, if we are dealing with a charge that might relate to interference or undue influence with the removal of the dockets, the scope of that witness testimony and the investigation that precedes it will critically look at the very same facts that the Madlanga Commission would do. Now, when you have that, you're sitting with a challenge from a detective point of view, and I'm speaking now. You're dealing with a witness that might be discredited in another process, that is going to testify again on the same allegations in the Madlanga Commission.
Yeah.
And nothing precludes either party from saying this person was found to be a recalcitrant or unreliable witness in a previous process. Because remember, both processes are testimony, constitutes testimony under oath. That's the one thing. The second thing is, when you're dealing with material evidence being surfaced in disciplinary regulations, let's say there's WhatsApps, there's communication and that, remember, it might be the same evidence and validation process that are now going to be revalidated in the Madlanga Commission. Because you cannot, the Madlanga Commission cannot say it was validated there and therefore we accept fait accompli. That evidence is cogent and we accept the veracity thereof. It is an independent process and has to retest all of these things. And that's where the challenge comes in. You might have witnesses that could be discredited long before they actually get to the commission.
That's very interesting indeed.
Out of the disciplinary process. So I think one of the challenges here is a suspension notice has been served. But I think what can be stayed is the actual disciplinary hearing date. Okay? And if an investigation was already handed over, all that evidence from that disciplinary investigation should immediately then be given to the commission also. Before anything further is done with it, it is tested in a hearing or not, so that we have at least that as a starting point. That's the most important thing here. But the other thing I want to get to, if you look at the commission's mandates in terms of undue influence or whether there's been infiltration and evidence in that regard, let's not forget that all these institutions, people have been vetted in the past. So there's useful information that might contain allegations in those vetting reports that might assist the commission.
Okay.
In many cases like the SSA and the police and crime intelligence, that there are counterintelligence divisions who investigate people internally and anti-corruption capabilities. So it's going to be important that the commission has access to all that information over a period of time to create a good basis to start testing what it is going to look at.
All right. Major General, thank you very much, covering a lot of ground there. Let me bring this to you, Jeremy Michaels. Simply, is Shadrack Sibiya, Deputy Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya, one of the Commission's witnesses? Is he likely to be called as a witness, given what is now happening around him?
Well, Crowley, let me start by saying that we have confirmed that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi is our first witness. He will be on the stand for several days. We are looking at 3 to 4, possibly more days. Beyond that, we are not going to discuss our long list of witnesses. There are major security considerations for that. And there are a few obvious candidates, but as the Commission, we are not going to say so-and-so is going to be appearing before the Commission. And as I say, you know, these are very, very sensitive matters. I do want to come to the issue of the powers of the Commission, right? Which, you know, my fellow panelists have touched on. And I think it's very important to understand that the President has given the Commission very significant powers. Aside from the usual search and seizure,
summoning people,
and ensuring that the Commission is able to access documentation and so on. The Commission also has the power to recommend the suspension of officials pending further investigations. The Commission also has the power to ensure that the National Prosecuting Authority or other state entities move to prosecute immediately. And that is aside from the process of the urgent 3 and 6 months reports to the President.
Before I move on from you, the Commission also has the important task of protecting witnesses. The very people that are going to be protected, who are you going to rely on to protect those people?
It is tricky because ordinarily within the legal framework, the Commission would rely on some of the very law enforcement agencies who are within the scope of the terms of reference to assist with providing protection. And so we have taken lessons from, for example, the State Capture Commission, the Zondo Commission, but we are having to innovate to ensure that we protect witnesses.
All right, we winding this down. Dr. Mabasa, let me come to you. And
yes, Xoli.
We're wrapping up now.
Yes.
If the Commission does conclude that indeed parts of South Africa's law enforcement agencies were infiltrated, how big a threat is that to the integrity of South Africa's law enforcement agencies and indeed its credibility to not only protecting citizens but serving them as well? Remember, there's an element of trust here that already has weakened significantly. Communities no longer trust the police, they will say. So if indeed we come to such conclusions, how big a blow will that be?
It will be bad, Xoli. If I will be the president, because automatically there is some element of infiltration, as you know. According to me, there is some element of infiltration. So we are waiting for the commission to recommend, because if you can look here, South African Police Service, we got the crime intelligence. So where was crime intelligence if maybe the politicians or some of the police officers started to connive with the criminal? So according to me, if maybe the findings is that the South African Police Service are infiltrated, I can say that the whole South Africa, they can recommend, remove the rotten commissioners, those who are those who will be at least be fined by the commissions, and then started to employ the good people, those who can serve the South African Police Service.
Yeah.
Because currently, with the community or the entire South Africa or international, they don't have any trust within the South African Police Service.
Major General Vearey, let's come to you
Yes.
for last thoughts. A slightly different question to you to that I've put to Mr. Mabasa as to the confidence in law enforcement. But yours is whether there is going to be an implementation of the recommendations of this commission, because, again, the question lingers about the effectiveness of these commissions of inquiry. We've already had one now that's cost us upwards of R1 billion.
Yes. I think the challenge to me is the Commission has a mandate to make recommendations as regards disciplinary processes. Now, the challenge is here that it goes back to the very same institutions about whom the Commission will make findings. Now, already credibility findings on the institution, or I don't know what might be found there, but so the issue is perhaps what needs to be examined here, if the Commission is to make such recommendations around disciplinary investigations, whether the right place is the very institutions being investigated on which findings are made, or whether or not what should be explored here is a different process,
Yeah.
a different set of regulatory framework specifically to deal with that. Because all these government departments, from SSA, for example, to correctional services, all of them have their own disciplinary processes that are very different and very varied. So perhaps what needs to be looked at here is developing a system particularly to give force to the power the Commission has to recommend disciplinary investigations. Somebody will have to investigate those allegations.
Yeah.
Somebody will have to charge that in terms of a process. And that institution cannot be the same institutions you made a credibility finding on.
Interesting
If
indeed.
I may add, Xoli, I think in addition to what Major General Vearey has raised, there are two key points. One is that the Commission is required, and I'm quoting from the terms of reference, to make recommendations regarding the adequacy of current legislation, policies and institutional arrangements in preventing such infiltration as has been alleged. And crucially, Clause 14 of the terms of reference says that each report must be submitted to the President and shall include recommendations that can be immediately actioned based on the Commission's work as at that date. So clearly, there is an intention to take action.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think to go back to the point about the implications of the Commission's work for the South African public, indeed, if it is true if these allegations are true, it holds grave implications for our law enforcement agencies, in fact, for our constitutional order, not only the state of law and order. And so South Africans have a vested interest in not only in the work, the hearings of the Commission, and of course, given the sensitivity, some of the hearings are going to be in camera, needless to say. But South Africans will have a vested interest not only in those aspects of the Commission's work, but indeed in these actionable recommendations.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time and explaining some of these intricacies. South Africans, no doubt, are going to be looking to this commission, not only to hear what is wrong, but the answers on the way forward, and exactly as you say, the parts that talk about tinkering with policy in order to tighten things up, that is also going to be very important going forward. Jeremy Michaels, thank you very much coming through today on behalf of the Commission, and Dr. Christopher Mabasa from Vahlengwe Forensics, the founder there. Thank you very much for making the time. And of course, the former Western Cape Detectives Head, Major General Jeremy Vearey. Thank you very much, sir, for your contributions tonight. We hopefully going to call on you in the not too distant future, I'm sure, as this commission proceeds. Thank you very much for joining us. And indeed, that is our cue to hand you over to sports. And Gwena is standing by with the latest.